Hello and welcome to another Dev Diary for that game that we're all incredibly hyped about, Europa Universalis 5. Today we're going to have a look at the flavor for the Incas, specifically with Cusco, which I think is going to be the one that most people are going to be playing. Essentially, they're the guys that you want to form the Inca Empire with. So let us take a look inside and see what it is that we need to do in order to form the Inca. The high volcanoes and fast rivers of the Andes Mountains hide and nourish the sacred valley of the Incas, where we, the sons of the sun, dwell in the magnificent city of Cusco as we prepare for the glorious future that awaits us. After years of consolidation and politics, the time has come for our people to expand their influence outside our great valley, to defeat our enemies, and to follow the paths of the mountains to each of the corners of the world. Are we ready to take on this destiny, or will those who oppose us beat us before reaching our prime? So, here is the county of Cusco, and I would expect and hope to see that county gets renamed flavor-wise to something a little bit more fitting, like we saw with the Aztecs. Originally it said county, and then in the dev responses somebody made a comment about, oh, this might not be, blah, 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 and then it was changed. Hopefully we see the same thing happening here as well. So, Cusco, 2 locations. And yet, despite that, we have 3 different cultures, each comprising a relatively decent percentage. Obviously, we are all Inti religion, though. Led by Auqui, Capac, Yupanqui, Hurin, Cusco. Dude does not have enough names, though, let's be honest. He needs a few more. And then we have a little bit more of a zoomed-in map as well. And, like, I did make a video yesterday about how I'm not a massive fan of a lot of the map, but I think the exception to that is any time that there are hills, any time that there are mountains, any kind of undulating terrain looks great. And I think, you know, Incas are pretty undulating, let's be honest. There's a whole lot of mountain stuff going on here, so this area does look really, really good. Big fan of it. Start by taking a look at the estates panel as usual. The countries of the region, including Cusco, start with a unique government reform that gives you a monthly development, which is quite nice. You can use Panakas, which is some kind of building. We can use Nusta and Akla marriage, whatever those are. We'll find out in a moment. A government reform prominent among the natives of the Andes. The law of the religion are weaved into the succession laws, forcing new rulers to start their reign with no worldly possessions of their own. So, unlocks a bunch of mechanics. The first is the Panakas. It is a building that you can build, or sorry, all locations gain a Panaka whenever the ruler dies. Okay, and the Panaka gives you minus 100% crown power. Holy. It does increase the levy size, cool, but minus 100% crown power is insane. Are you gonna be able to destroy these? I feel like if I can just like demolish them instantly, that might be a vibe. Location is in the hands of the royal family of a previous ruler. The current monarch has no power over these lands. Okay. But I want to delete them. I want to delete them. They're instantly built at the death of the ruler by this event, the Panaka of Cuscru. With the death of our last great monarch, the royal family has distributed our lands to the old Panaka. Once again, the cycle is started anew, and the current Auqui has to establish his own legacy through conquest, so every location gets a Panaka. Very nice. Okay. As you can see, Panakas are a double-edged sword. They increase the levy size, but their cost is removing the crown power from the location they're built in. Therefore, they might potentially be very good buildings for locations distant from the capital where you have low control, while being very negative for those locations close to your capital. They can be removed, though, by paying a cost of 10 legitimacy. Okay. That's quite expensive. That's painful. The other 2 actions unlocked by the Andean monarchy reform are connected. So we have Nusta marriage. I don't know how to pronounce an N with the squiggle on top. Not a clue. Propose for one of our marriageable female characters who's either part of the nobility and clergy to marriage with the target country's ruler. So it's like a royal marriage, but it doesn't create diplomatic or royal bond between the countries. The to-be married character does not have to be a member of our dynasty. So we just find a random woman in our country to marry to you, and we don't get any kind of diplomacy based on it, except, you know, an opinion boost. Okay. We also have Akla marriage. Character will be married off to the local governor of a target province. It will have the following effect on the province: -20 unrest and -25 separatism. This one, quite nice. This one, I mean, it's just for the opinion, really, isn't it? Also, 100 opinion for a royal marriage is way higher than we got in EU4. Again, this isn't a royal marriage. It's a Nusta marriage. Yes, very, very different. But yeah, 100 rather than the 25 we have got before. And I feel like it's 25 again in EU5 for regular royal marriages, but I can't remember checking that, to be honest. There's a cabinet action that can be used to recruit Aklas, the characters you may marry through the former actions. So we got Akla recruitment here. Our cabinet will focus on gathering the most beautiful and intelligent girls of the realm to train them to become Aklas, allowing them to serve the state for royal marriage and marry Akla. The amount of eligible characters we gain varies between 2 and 7 in 4 years. Okay, so it's specific women that you essentially need to marry off in this regard. This seems like a relatively good way of keeping unrest and separatism down, right? I conquer an area, I get my Akla to go and marry the governor of this area, and we get, you know, good stuff out of it. It's okay. You know what? I am all for this, because this is interesting and plays very differently to what we've seen before, right? It's not a case of, you know, everywhere in the world plays the same. This is like very unique kind of gameplay, which is, I think, cool. I like seeing new things, and this is something that would make me think, oh, you know what? I want to try this. I want to play this. I want to give it a shot. Yeah. We already reworked the marriage unlocked by the Inca religion that we presented on Wednesday. It's now a new marriage policy, polygyny. So, maximum amount of female spouses, maximum amount of male spouses. Again, this is up from 0. It's set to fit and work along with the Nusta and Akla marriages, so Andean countries can get strong diplomatic bonds between them if they wish. Okie dokie. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Andean countries also have a unique privilege available at the start, the Mit-A system. So it allows peasants to migrate, buildings cost less to build, that's awesome. Pop assimilation speed 25 is amazing as well. From the age of 15 to 50, all males are required to work under the Meta system. This means they will serve for 1 year as free labor for the government. The labor is regulated so that it does not conflict with each person's possibility to provide for their family. You know what's funny? Kind of feels like, you know, the conscription system in Finland. Because if you can go to the military for your conscription, or you could do some free labor for the government if you want instead. I think you do actually still get paid though, so maybe it's not free labor. Either way, Andean countries also have several unique buildings that are unlocked by some advances available in the Age of Tradition. So they have the Inca Mesana, gives population capacity and food production. Amazing building. It's very cheap as well. Only costs stone as the production method. You want to build this literally everywhere. This is a fantastic building. It's a temple of honor and worship of water and the divine patrons of it. As a combination of architectural beauty and technical ingenuity, the Inca Mesana has a dual purpose of being a religious building and an irrigation system. Yeah, this is probably the clergy for the South Americans, so they got a unique icon, which is nice. But yeah, I would be building this in every single location. We also have the Pucara increasing. It's basically a fort. This is the soldier icon, very nice. Gives you fort level, garrison size. It's a special, it is a building placed in a hill or mountainous terrain. Okay, maybe that's, you have to... Can it only be placed in hills or mountainous terrain? It can only be built on locations that are rural, for example, but I don't see anything here saying, you know, it has to be on hills or mountainous, and I don't think the flavor text really counts there. Serves both as a weapon storage and as a defensive fortification. Incorporate the difficulty of the terrain into their design, making them comparatively cheaper and easier to construct and maintain than regular forts. We have terraces, giving, again, in cities, towns, and rural, plus 50% food production. Fantastic. You want to build these everywhere as well. They're quite cheap, only taking stone to build. Terraces are sloped areas for the purpose of effective farming in the complex terrain of the Andes. Constructed on different height levels, the terraces can provide prime soil for many different crops in a closed area. And some of the unique advances are available for Cusco. We have the Mitma obligations, giving you more monthly development. We saw development up in the Crown Doodad, the government reform. So more development is obviously good. In order to undertake great building projects in the past, our rulers have had to fulfill ancient traditions by inviting every single petty chief in our empire to the capital in order to shower them with gifts and hold lavish feasts. As our state grows, however, it's far from an ideal way to undertake these projects. Supplying labor and materials for construction should be a duty of each and every chief in our lands. I feel like this is something you definitely take, but the effectiveness of it is really not going to be really that prevalent. So, we have a look at this map. What can you see about this map? I feel like you could probably see that it's very mountainous. Mountains, like, lower the effectiveness of development by a lot. I don't know the specific numbers, like, I don't know, 60% or 80% or something like that. But yeah, it's a lot. So the effectiveness of this monthly development, like, shave off quite a lot of it, essentially. We have the military Mitar, so I guess the Mitar people do also go to the military, so it's even more like the conscription. It's a mandatory service for the Incan society. The system not only covers communal aspects of the state, but also the backbone of the military service. Every Ayula within our country has to provide the army with capable men who are adapted to the combat in the highlands. We have the Tambo in the Age of Traditions. It unlocks a building. Supply depot for the Incas. Purpose of the tambo varies significantly depending on the size of the structure. Smaller tambos serve as road stops for passing travelers, while larger ones can even serve as an office for the province's administration. Gives you some garrison growth. Kind of meh. I probably wouldn't build this one. We have the Quipu, giving max literacy for the clergy. Quite a lot of it, actually. In a system which uses knots on a string to store information, the knots represent a number from 0 to 9, which can be used to store quantities or for accounting. The knots can also be used to refer to logograms on the same string. The knots show which syllable in the logogram to use, and combining more strings you can make sentences. Very cool. We have the drafted Hatun Runas in the Age of Discovery, increasing peasant levy size. It's being the common men of the Empire. 1 in 50 men will be chosen to serve in the army from their 25th birthday and for the following 7 years. This provides a large and professional army which is more disciplined than our adversaries. And then in the Age of Reformation, we get some military tactics from the adapted Incan army. Invaders from a strange land have set their foot on our land and threaten our very existence, but our armies are adaptive, and they adjust to the new enemy tactics, learn to wield their very own weapons against them, and fight with an unbreakable resolve inspired by their foes. But wait, so far we've only talked about the Cusco, not about the Inca, which was supposed the topic of the Tinto Flavor. This is because it is another piece of content for today. The Formable Incan Empire. It's a tier 3 Formable. You become an empire rank. You lose the Andean monarchy government reform, and you get the Taiwanatsuyu monarchy government reform. And we will see what that is there. The Altiplano is divided among many nations, each inhabiting the valleys and worshipping different gods. We shall unite all these lands under our main god and a strong leader. The sun shall cast its light over a unified realm. So you need 60 locations in these areas, and you start with 2. You have to grow up to 62 to be able to form the Incan Empire. Oh, 60 more. Okay, so it's 62 total that you need. A rags to riches campaign. And you'll get a new government reform that will replace the Andean monarchy, which is the Taiwanatsuyu monarchy. 0.002 monthly development. You get a extra government reform, admin efficiency. You can still use you still have to use the Panakas. Nusa marriage and Akla marriage is also there as well. I mean, the Panakas seem so punishing. I would have hoped that when you formed the Incan Empire, you'd be able to maybe get rid of them, but if you've got 62 locations, that's 620 legitimacy that you are going to have to tank to get rid of the Panakas in every location. That's insane. That's wild. That's just not going to happen, right? That's crazy talk. As you can see, much of the content available for Cusco is based on mechanics. However, there are still some events to play with. The best aja in the Andes. Our ruler's wife is known as one of the best aja brewers in Acamama. Her ability to turn maize kernels into delicious beverage was one of the deal sweeteners that helped to sign the royal marriage between Cusco and Ayarmaca, despite their long history of rivalry and border friction. Today, she's prepared her famous aja, should we enjoy it as always. So you can drink it, which is the book option. So there is apparently a historical record of our ruler getting shit-faced. Betrayal! She's poisoned the aja, no! Okay, so now I know that when I play this tag, she's up to something. Yeah, I guess there is some historical record of it, because it was poison! By the time the guards came in to help him, he already lay dead on the floor of the throne room. The treachery does not end there, as the warrior Inca Roca Hanan Cusco seized the opportunity, and instead of punishing the poisoner, he stole the throne for himself and started calling himself Sapa Inca. After the dust settles and our new Aqui Inca Roca Hanan Cusco secured his power, the new position of his dynasty, it's time to decide what to do with the Huron Cusco family. Their connections and experiences as priests and bureaucrats can still be of great utility, but any remaining grudges could become a problem. They keep the positions of power in the country. So you gain some legitimacy and stability. The Huron Cusco High Priesthood as well is a thing. We'll grant it to the clergy. And tolerance to true faith and progress to decentralization. There is more Tintomat feedback on Monday. I know I haven't really been doing the Tintomat feedbacks. Maybe for China I might, though. Okay, so next week is a pure China situation. We've got mechanics for the Middle Kingdom and the Chinese Empire IO and Tinto flavor about China. China is, of course, one of the tier 1 nations that have the most content. So I'm expecting this to be relatively fat. But of course we have some comments that we need to go through, so let's go find those. If you remember yesterday, we saw Yuhan saying that, you know, with the snapback settings, and we saw a little bit of a situation with the settings menu, and I saw this single unit armies button, and I said, oh, I gotta go and ask a guy about this. Well, I did. I went and asked a guy about this. Does this increase the size of the unit model? Yes, they become an Imperator EU4 giant. So, if you are... I think this is going to be really good for people with lesser computers, if their hardware is not that amazing. Instead of having many models on the map, you can instead choose to have just a single model on the map, like we have in EU4, like we have in Imperator, like we have in all, you know, good Paradox games. And that might help you a little bit with performance if your graphics that aren't up to scratch. But also, it might just be nice for you if you are somebody who wants to see the unit models, because they're kind of small still. But either way, I think this is a great option to add. And ideally what I would like is like another option here is like have maximum unit models in armies 10, 20, and then 30. Like something like that would be really, really nice. Because at the moment, the maximum is 30. If we bring it down to 20, we can scale them up. If we bring it down to 10, we can scale them up even more. And then if we bring it down to 1, we can scale it up to the maximum. Like that'd be really cool. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. So first off, we have this comment here. Are there any other Formables other than Taiwan Atsuyu in South America? No, it's the only one currently available, if Javier recalls correctly. I don't know if I mean, for the Incas, obviously, Taiwan Atsuyu makes sense to be the Formable. Although, Incan Empire, I would have expected to see. I don't know. Maybe it's just that Incan Empire is something that is very European imposed language, whereas they would call themselves Taiwan Atsuyu. And if that's the case, then obviously I'm fine with Taiwan Atsuyu. I think Formables for South America should be like post-colonial formables. So if, say, Rio de la Plata colony of Spain breaks free, then they could form Argentina, Chile, all of these different places, Peru, etc. And those, I think, should be formables in the sense of like the mechanics that they use to form a country. But I do still think that just more formables is always good. I don't see a problem with having more formables. I don't have a problem with seeing ridiculous formables that, you know, are anachronistic to the time period. I'm fine with seeing Belgium as a formable, for goddamn sake. So yeah, more formables is more better. Will the Old World diseases cause a civil war to allow easier conquest for the Europeans? They haven't scripted it, but the Old World diseases will be painful and challenging to deal with. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember exactly what the disease is called. The Great Pestilence, I think it is just going to absolutely ravage the New World. And unlike the Black Death, which occurs at a time when a lot of your population isn't working in buildings because you haven't had time to get them working in buildings, by the time of the Great Pestilence, you will have, as the Incas or as Mexico or whatever, had enough time to get your population working in buildings. So there's going to be less free peasant population. So the majority of the people who die will be the ones that are, you know, actively contributing to your economy, which is going to be a massive hit to your economy, more so than the Black Death is right now. So yeah, I'm expecting Great Pestilence to be worse for people playing in the New World than the Black Death is for people playing in the Old World. Which it makes sense as well, because it's like, you know, 33% of people died in the Old World from the Black Death, 90% of people died in the New World from the you know, Great Pestilence. So it makes sense. Anyway, moving on. Are there any flavor about the Incan Kapak Nan, the Royal Road? You can mechanically build the road system, and then there's a unique advance that gives some bonuses as well. So army movement speed and unit food consumption for the Tambo way stations. Very nice. So nothing like specifically about the road system, but you can build roads and you get an advance. Reasonable, fair enough. How does Inca expand with so much uncolonized land? Do they just have to colonize their way to the next settled state? How possible is it for them to reach their historical borders? Regarding the last point noted in the rest of the feedback, thanks, mix of military conquest and settled expansion. We're currently thinking of adding more settled tags in the region, though, so the gameplay is more centered around warfare compared to peaceful expansion. Fair enough. Is the Nusta marriage also using Aklas? Yes. What happens if the country refuses? You don't get the marriage. Actually, this one is here. Makes the character effectively disappear since governors aren't represented. Yes. Nusta marriage uses all of them, but not only them. What happens if the country refuses? You don't get the marriage. Is the character age and stats you propose playing a role in how likely the country is to accept or refuse? Not as of now, but it's based on diplomatic opinion. Not as of now makes me think that you saw this and was like, oh, actually, that's a good idea. Which is fair enough. The Incramasana building seemingly lacks something to represent its religious role besides employing clergy plops. Maybe adding tolerance to the true faith or pop conversion speed, something like that. Yeah, makes sense, and that has been noted. Would be nice to see that. How is the Akla distribution mechanic from the Andean Empire different from the Akla marriage one from the Andean Kingdom? It's the same. They changed the naming while preparing for the Tinto flavor for better clarity, and he forgot to change that one. And so he's changed it in the main post. Fair enough. Should the Tambos not give some form of control bonus as per their description? He's forwarded that on. Fair enough. Is there a requirement for a certain type of terrain to build terraces and pucaras? Yes, mountains, plateaus, or hills. Okay, so it does follow the flavor. I feel like that should be in the requirements as well. Lastly, how does this expansion work? In a setting where few states border each other, the main driver is the Settle the Frontier cabinet action. So essentially you're getting the Siberian Frontiers system, which, you know, that works. It's very nice. You get events for the period of the next 10 years, which describe the process of settling the target province. Fair enough. Some questions. What nations are considered to be of the Andean nations of the south? The Andean monarchy government reform. So these ones that you can see on the map are the Andean culture group. So basically anyone with a country inside there has all of that good stuff. And yeah, that's a lot of cultures within this culture group. Like a lot. Like a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, nice. The mountains look great on the zoom level. However, I think the unknown locations shouldn't be this ugly greenish gray in the map mode, and by that he means this greenish gray here, which I agree with. It's a temporary bug introduced by a programmer yesterday and then fixed by that programmer today. RIP the programmer. Ignore this bit. RIP Mr. Programmer. You made a mistake. Anyway, that's all for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to click the like button. Let me know your comments in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please click subscribe. I would appreciate it. I like seeing, number go up, and hopefully you like seeing my videos in your sub feed. That would be cool. Anyway, thanks all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.